guys, how you going? So down BK Sport, we are back here for another tier maker, baby. Like I say all the time, love this series because it really gets you into the headspace that the NRL is really soon approaching. It's coming back, baby. We've got the Vegas coming up soon. I'm not too sure when this goes out, but Multi versus Indigenous All-Stars. We've got some preseason going on. I'm pretty certain this would have come out after the Rugby League charity match, but that would have been great, I would assume. But that's in a couple of days for us at the time of filming. But this video, obviously, you guys should know by now, we go through every single position in the NRL and every single player in said position. So if you haven't seen the other ones yet, I know so far there's been hookers that have gone out, 5'8", coaches, and a couple others would have been as well. So definitely go and check those ones out. Yeah, there's plenty of time to grab a coffee, grab a beer, get some bloody drink into you and just chill out and have basically a bit of a chat. You've also got the Premier chat over there that you can use to disapprove of our opinions, because don't worry, there definitely will be those that will do that. But at the end of the day, guys, this is our opinion. Now, obviously, I don't just do this by myself, because otherwise the Titans would all just be on a league. And I need somebody to kind of hold me back in that regard. They need to hold me back. But we do have a Dragons fan on today, which I'll probably have to hold back at some point. But it's Trademark Sports, man. How we doing, man?
Yeah, good. Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me on.
He's back. And what did we do last time? You were on recently as well for, the Dragon? Oh, wow. Yeah, the Dragons draft. One of the only ones that I lost, man. They're one of the only ones. Gee whiz. I have to get you back next year or something like that, mate. But no, that was good. But what are you thinking about the halfbacks today? Because that's what we're doing today, guys. We're doing the halfbacks. What are your thoughts about the halfback position?
I think, it's one of those positions where there's the elite of the elite are some of the game breakers, some of the best players to watch in the whole competition. And to be honest, I think there's going to be some controversial opinions from myself for sure throughout this. There's some players that are highly rated by a lot of people that I don't think are that great. So we'll see how that goes.
Mate, I'm excited. That's what I love to hear. Because people listening back at home, they want to hear interesting opinions. They just don't want just, bland, boring kind of stuff. Like, obviously, we're going to be realistic, guys. We're going to give our opinions and whatnot. But with that being said, you also do want to hear some controversy at times. A little bit of a mix-up here. But Trademark, let everyone know kind of what you do in the community for the NRL.
So basically, I just love my footy, bit of a rugby league nerd. So just have a bit of fun talking about the footy over on TikTok, make some short form content, reacting to the news and everything. Got an Instagram account, starting to delve into the meme kind of world.
So definitely, I know about that one, don't
I? Yes. So BKR might have been the brunt of one of them, but yeah. So go check that sort of thing out, and then over on YouTube, just finding my feet really in the YouTube game. But yeah, just give me some love. Been doing some season previews, do some quizzes, that sort of thing. Got to delve into a bit of podcasting. So yeah, just give me some love, eh?
Yeah, well, listen, you gave the Titans a good rap, so he's definitely got love from my end, mate, because you gave the Titans a good rap in your preview and whatnot. But yeah, no, obviously, he does NRL content just like myself. And actually, just a quick question. Was that Titans meme that you posted the most shared? Because I swear that's got 1,500 shares at this point.
It was ridiculous. Between that one and the Bulldogs one, the old Panthers meme of 16th.
Yeah.
Get so many notifications, people mentioning in their story, and it's just Blaze with his tongue out.
It's true, man. I need a horse tongue tie for 2024 because as soon as we get a try. But it was funny because everyone was because that was obviously about Tino and Dave. And I remembered that was actually the Dolphins game when Tanner Boyd scored because I was like, that's my boy Tanner. But yeah, and we'll get to Tanner in today's video.
We will get to Tanner.
We will get to Tanner. He'll go straight into the top of a lead above Nathan Cleary. But all right, guys, let's get into the team maker. Obviously, as you would be aware by now, elite quality to the job, not that great and unproven. Most people aren't going to be listening to us at this point. You're probably going to click straight through to where the player is that you want. But if you are listening to us, welcome. I appreciate you. Thumbs up, subscribe. But if you do, and I know the players do watch this, and there's actually a player on today that I know does watch these videos. So I'm not going to say who it is, but I do know there are players that watch these videos. So just to clarify, guys, he didn't have a bad thought process at all. He was just obviously talking to me about it. But, if you guys do get put into not that great or whatnot, don't think that we're saying you're not a good player. You are a million times better than myself and Trademark, even though Trademark is playing in the charity match. So you never know. He could be anything. That guy, as Guru would say, could be anything.
We'll see.
But yeah, look, obviously, we're not trying to say that you are a bad player overall. Just comparatively to the rest of the competition, comparatively to your colleagues per se, you need to do better. So just motivate from us, prove us wrong. I've been proven wrong many times in the past with these lists. Corey Horsburgh is a great example of this, right? So, the point of the matter is this is just our opinion right now, but you definitely can change it. Just get back on and just absolutely rampage in 2024. The halfbacks are a good one here. The halfbacks are a good tier because I feel like the halfback right this very second, I feel like it's been hookers in the recent history, but halfback right this very second is the most crucial position on the field. I think that is the direction half. The 5'8" is a floater. The hooker is giving the ball, but I think the halfback is completely directing the play, and that's what you're seeing from guys like Cleary and whatnot that we'll get into today. So I am really excited to get into it, but all right, let's smack it out. Like I said, guys, thumbs up, subscribe. First man off the blocks is going to be from the Brisbane Broncos, and it is Adam Reynolds. Would love to hear what you have to say. I do have a strong opinion on Reynolds, but what are your thoughts on Adam Reynolds?
I feel like your opinion might be a little bit Titans bias. We'll see. I'm not sure what your opinion is, but I think he is probably an elite halfback. Like, he's moved up to the Broncos. They're a struggling club when he went there. He's got them they missed the finals that first year he was there, but then second year he's got into a grand final. He's been to a couple grand finals in the last 5 or so years. For me, I think he's one of the better halfbacks in the competition. What do you think?
So the thing is, right, is that, I definitely believe that he's at very minimum top of quality or potentially at bottom of elite. But the issue that I'm going to find today is that we can only put 5 into elite, right? There's only 5 players overall. So I'm kind of happy to put him into elite for the time being, just because, yes, he did turn around that Broncos team. However, did also completely collapse in the clutch, which was a big worrying factor in that grand final that we saw in 2023. He was a big reason as to why the Broncos did fall away. Not saying he's the only reason, but it was a big reason as to it with some of his decision-making. But with that being said, he is just an electric halfback that does know what he's doing and is very, very quality. So, look, I think that I'm happy to put him into elite for now. I could see a couple others definitely. Well, I definitely know there's going to be some more that go above him. But if it gets to that 5 marker up there, because there are some really good halfbacks, we may have to bump him down to the top. But again, I really like Renault as a halfback, and I actually selected him in my Broncos draft with Annabelle when she already took, I think, Alan Langer. So I went with Renault, and that's how much I think of Adam Reynolds. So we put him into elite for now. But do you agree with what I'm saying? That there's probably going to be a couple that might be above him, especially after that grand final.
I'm happy with that. I think, when you look at it like you want the top 5 guys in that elite spot, and like it is competition for spots, especially up to the upper echelon of halfbacks, is pretty red hot. So I understand what you're saying there.
100%. All right. Let's go now into the Tigers. And as a man who used to play for the Gold Coast Titans, also the Canterbury Bulldogs before he went over to, and Raiders actually, before he went over to the English Super League. Now he's back and he's going to be the halfback for 2024. It is Aidan Sezer, who I used to love. I used to love Aidan when he was at the Titans, and he was unfortunately a part of the Cherry Evans fiasco. The only reason that he had to go was because we'd gotten Cherry Evans, and then Cherry Evans obviously backflipped. But Aidan Sezer is such a good man that I'm pretty certain the club actually asked him. To, say, hey, listen, I actually will stay now considering what happened with Cherry Evans. But he said, no, I'm a man of my word. And he signed a contract, I think it was with the Raiders, and then went there. So I love Aidan Sezer. Do think he's getting on in age, though. That's the issue. But I do think I'd be happy to still put him in to do the job, because I do think he'll do a job for the Tigers. But I would have actually probably in the middle of the 2010s put him in quality, but I think right now do the job.
Yeah, I think the exact same thing. I was going to say, when he was at the Raiders, when he was at the Titans, he was really, really good halfback. Would definitely think he's a quality half, but I think given his age, I think he's like 33 or something. Had a stint in the Super League. Like when he left the NRL, it was off the back of a grand final. And no club wanted to pick him up the NRL, so it sort of shows you that people were starting to think he was about to fall off. So I think for now he's definitely do the job halfback.
I think the issue as well is that obviously Jahrome is coming in 2025. So he's probably just a bit of and I hate to say this about Aidan, but he's probably just a bit of a placeholder right now, because they do have likes of Jaden Sullivan and Lucky Fainu, who probably will play that 5'8". So Aidan Sezer,
Lucky Galvin too, which is just
exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. So, I think he's probably a bit of a placeholder. But with that being said, best of luck in 2024. Do think he'll do the job there. I think the Tigers are 1 year away from starting to really get back on the right direction there, but they are in the right direction. All right, we go now to the Woof Woof, the Bulldogs, Bailey Biondi-Odo. What are your thoughts on Bailey Biondi-Odo?
So poor Bailey. Oh, wow, that's just actually tricked me. My brain just had just went to mush then. Bailey Biondi-Odo. There we go. I think without injuries, I think he's a quality player. Unfortunately, he's been very injury riddled throughout his career. like he hasn't had that much time in the NRL. I'm sort of in between, not that great and unproven. Like, where do you think? Like, what do you think about him?
I think that I feels like I've heard his name for a few years now. Like as in like, how long has he been around? 4 years, 5 years?
It would be that he always kills it in New South Wales Cup and then never seems to get an opportunity in NRL, comes in and then he just, I don't know, just disappears.
Yeah, I would probably lean towards the not that great section right now, just because one, he's been around for a little bit now. Two, he hasn't really got that opportunity, and he's at the doggies too. So, like, if you're going to have
Yeah.
an opportunity, it's in the halfback position at the Bulldogs, right? And I don't believe he'll get that halfback spot this year. I don't think that when I've seen him, he's been awful. But with that being said, there's not enough. There's no consistency. There's no time being seen. Obviously, injury prone. I think for the time being, yes, to not that great, but you'd agree that he probably could get out of there if he gets some opportunity.
Absolutely. I think like the more game time for him in the NRL, the better player he would become. But it's just unfortunate the way it's worked out so far.
Absolutely. And like I said, doggies, there's a chance for you. Out of all teams, the Dogs halfback is up for grabs. But all right, we'll go now, and I'm going to let you go first here. It is the St. George Illawarra Dragons. However, I'm really concerned about what he's actually going to say because there is other things that might factor into this thought process. Benny Hunt, the big old Benjamin Hunt, a guy that's had a little bit to do with both of our clubs, just obviously didn't come to us, but that was because the Dragons said, no, sir, no, sir. Ray, what are your thoughts on Ben Hunt?
So 6 months ago, if you had have asked me this, I would have said he's elite for sure. My concern is he's been at the Dragons since 2019. We haven't made the finals with him there. He's been in conversations as like a Daly halfback or Daly player of the year and stuff. And like he's been very, very good carrying the Dragons. But if he was that good, he'd be able to get you into like the finals and thereabouts. Like I understand it's a team game, team sport, but he's the halfback. Like a lot of what they do is determines the results. Plus, I think also there's a little bit of animosity for me because he's meant to be club captain and coming out and saying he wants to get out, which it's not a great look, is it, for the whole club? He's gone back on his word a little bit recently, but I just think like if it was hookers as well, I'd think it's elite for sure. But given in the halfback position, I still think he's a great player, but I don't know whether he is in that elite category.
No, I agree. I think I'd put him into quality. I moved him there just before, expecting you to pretty much say that, to be fair. I think that in regards to hooker, that Australia versus New Zealand game actually took a little bit out of the win sales for Benny Hunt, actually, because he did get targeted quite a bit, and that was the 30-0 game. But in regards to halfback, I do think that I think if you take Ben Hunt out of this Dragons team, they get the wooden spoon more years than not. Whilst he's obviously been there, you take him out, they probably do get it. He's just a guy that is at least able to lead them outside of that wooden spoon and just keep the Tigers down there. I do think that he's a quality halfback. I don't think there's a great deal around him, which you could probably agree. The fullback, you still don't really know who your fullback is. Maybe Sloan or Lomax, you're not sure. The 5'8" is, just all over the shop. Carl Fleming comes in this year. And then the number 9, I think it's Jacob Little in it. So he doesn't really have a great deal kind of around him. And then you go into those smaller positions, per se, front rowers, back row, well, outside the spine, front rowers, back rowers, lock. And I'd say your back line's pretty fine, your 2 through 5, but I don't think there's a great deal for Ben Hunt to work with. So I definitely would put him into quality. And I think that, you're right. In regards to hooker, you probably still could consider elite, but in halfback, quality for sure.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's like, this is the thing with the halfbacks just in general. If they're playing off the back of a 4-pack that's getting dominated, it's so hard for a halfback to do anything anyway. So Dragons, they've had a weak 4-pack the last 3 or 4 years, constantly lose the ruck. So it is hard for a halfback to do anything. So
absolutely. All right, we'll chuck him into quality. Next up here, we'll go back to the Bulldogs, the Wolf Blake Taafe here, who comes across from the Rabbitohs. Obviously, the Bulldogs are in a kind of real confusing stage right now. They definitely don't know who their fullback is, which is potentially Blake Taafe, because Stephen Crichton could go centre, or it could be Stephen Crichton as the fullback, and then maybe Blake Taafe potentially plays halfback with Toby Sexton. I'm not too sure here, man. What would you say about Blake Taafe when it comes to the halfback role? Because we haven't seen him a great deal there, but we've seen it a couple of times when it was the Rabbitohs.
I think the Bulldogs don't know who their 7's going to be in round 1, which is concerning because trials are 2 weeks away when we're recording this. I think Blake Taafe, for me, as a halfback, he's unproven. He hasn't had that many minutes there. I mean, I think he's quite a good fullback, but as a halfback, I mean, he's one of those players that he's kind of gets a little bit stuck in the fact that he can play so many positions. So it's sort of like, where is his best spot? But I think, for me at the moment, as a halfback, for sure, is unproven.
Yeah, definitely. I think that obviously Lachlan Ellis was the main guy there. He didn't get really too many opportunities, and then now he has to fight a whole bunch of other guys that will get into this list for that halfback position. But I do think that he's definitely in front of probably Biondi-Odo at this point for getting that spot. But honestly, we don't know what the halfback position is, and as you said, the doggies don't know who their halfback realistically is right now. I would assume it's a guy that we'll get to in this list a lot later on, but. We don't know. We don't know. But all right, let's go now to a guy who was at the Canberra Raiders and now he is at the Penrith Panthers. Brad Schneider. You're going to have to sit behind a pretty quality halfback here, Brad Schneider. But what are your thoughts on Brad from what you saw at the Raiders? Because he's definitely got enough game time.
Yeah, I think he's definitely not a bad NRL player. I think he's got enough to offer, especially as a backup, and he'll come through around Origin time and probably do the job for the Penrith Panthers. He's gone over to England. He's got a bit more experience and come back. We'll be interesting to see how he goes because there's been a couple of players on this list as well we'll talk about later that have gone and done that, come back better players. I think just the opportunity for game time in professional, sort of the top tier of rugby league is going to help him. But yeah, for me, I think he's a do the jobber.
Yeah, I think he's the epitome of a do the job guy. That's why I put him straight below Aidan Sezer there. I do think he'll be quite low on the do the job list, to be fair. But with that being said, I do think that he is the kind of guy that could absolutely do the job for a team, especially during that Origin period where they used to use a guy like Sean O'Sullivan for the Panthers. Brad Schneider will do what he needs to do, and I don't think you'll miss a great deal. Obviously, you'll miss Nathan Cleary, but I don't think that you'll kind of come back to the pack as much as you would think without Cleary when you got Brad Schneider there doing the job. So we'll chuck him in there, the epitome of do the job. Next up here, we go to the Sharkies, and it is Braydon Trindall, who on predicted team lists, they're predicting him to be the 7. Now, I've been calling this, I don't know if you see on my stories all the time, I always say, I believe Nicho Hynes is 6, and I believe Braydon Trindall is the 7, but obviously Nicho Hynes has been the 7 for quite some time now, and Trindall's been the 6 after Matty Moreland, but now they're predicting him to go the 7. I think personally, I would be aiming straight up in the do the job category here. I think Braydon Trindall is a fine player. I think that he hasn't had a great deal of time to play that 7 because Nicho's been there, but I feel like that's more of his position. And I personally at this current time would prefer Braydon Trindall as my 7 instead of Aidan Sezer. Take me back 8 years, 10 years. I'm taking Sezer, but right this very second, I'll probably put Braydon Trindall above Aidan Sezer into the job.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you just said. I think having Braydon Trindall as the organizer and to get around the park really frees up Nicho Hynes to be a running half, which I think is his best attribute. Sort of bold, sort of not bold prediction, but I think if Braydon Trindall plays 7, Nicho Hynes is the blue 6 because we'll just see how good he can be in that position. And I think Braydon Trindall, he's everything you want in a halfback that just wants to take the pressure off the star player. So yeah, I think he's got a good shot kicking game and everything from what we've seen so far. Played really well alongside Hynes towards the back end of the year for the Sharkies. So yeah, I think he's definitely a do the jobber with the potential to get up into that quality tier as the season goes on.
Yeah, well, they've got a good spine there, man. Blake Brayley, Braydon Trindall, Nicho Hynes, and fullback William Candy, who's such an underrated fullback.
Absolutely.
I think they've got such a good, talented roster that they should be doing so much better with it. But obviously, they just haven't been. So, no, good to hear that you kind of agree there that Trindall being that 7 is probably the best outfit there with Nicho Hynes at the 6 because obviously Nicho Hynes won a Daly M of the year as the halfback at the Sharks. So it's a controversial opinion, but I think people are starting to come around to it. I think they are. So Braydon Trindall, top of do the job. Okay, this is a controversial one because he used to be a Sharkie. Now he's at the North Queensland Cowboys. Had a great year in 2022. Did not have a great year in 2023. It is Chatty Townsend here, who I'll let you speak first, but I will say that in a video that is upcoming on this channel, I have breakout stars. I have breakout players with Sammy Revel, Wobble and Draw Sports, where we go through every team. We'll give one breakout player per team. And I said that it potentially could be Tommy Dearden moving to the 7 at some stage with, I think it was Jake Clifford moving to the 6. I'm not going to give away kind of what the breakout player was, but overall, I had that he might lose his position in 2024. Do you agree or disagree with that notion?
Well, when I made my Cowboys Predictor 17 posts and stuff, I had Cowboys fans left, right, center saying, get Chad Townsend out of that team. He brought Jake Clifford in, he's just done. And I was like, wow, okay, I didn't realize that Cowboys fans felt so strongly about it. And the more I thought about it, the more I came around to the idea of it. I think Chad Townsend in his current state, I think Chad Townsend as well seems like a very good bloke. He seems like he's the kind of guy that goes, you know what? maybe I am a bit past it. Take a backward step and mentor these guys alongside James Maloney, coming through, giving the Cowboys the best opportunity, like to be successful in the future. But yeah, I think his form definitely dropped off a lot, and that's when you see a halfback do that when they're like 30 plus. He's 33. It does concern you a little bit. I think he still will do the job for the Cowboys if selected, but I don't think he's going to be breaking games open and stuff, and like what he used to be able to anyway for the Cowboys.
Would you put him, because I definitely would still have him into the job. I wouldn't put him in not that great. I don't think he's going to be awful by any means, because one, he's got a premiership to his name, but also two, that was a long time ago. I would be looking towards that either below or above Aidan Sezer kind of range.
I think I've squeezed him in between Trindall and Sezer for now.
Yeah, I don't mind that one. Look, I think they're kind of in a similar position there, actually, because they're both obviously aging halves. And well, Aidan Seezer's at the Tigers with a lot less cavalry than what the Cowboys do have. But with that being said, I agree with that positioning. Yeah, we'll chuck him right there above Sezer, below Trindall. Next up here, we go to the New Zealand Warriors, the Wars. We've got Harris-Tavita, who is coming back from a year off. I think he took a mental health break, if I'm not mistaken, which I do love. And I think that players like that, it's great to see that they do, take their mental health seriously, because it is a big thing nowadays, especially with social media and the way that players and just people alike get treated online. Like they get absolutely abused if they make one mistake, right, because of gambling and stuff. So I do love that for Harris-Tavita to really get that mind right. Now he's back with the Warriors. What are your thoughts there? Obviously, going to be behind Shawnee J, but what are your thoughts there?
I feel like the Warriors, even though they got rid of Ronald Volkman, that whole fiasco, I feel like they've still got 1,000 halves that are sort of all like around the same quality. So you got like Harris-Tavita can play 6 as well, but I think as a halfback, I don't know, Tamade Martin can probably like play halfback for them as well. I think it's tough to rank him because we haven't seen him for over 12 months. When he was playing, he was like doing quite a good job for the Warriors.
Was Samoa halfback as well, wasn't he? Oh no, was he the backup? Was he the 14 for Samoa at the World Cup?
Yes, I believe so, because Luai played 7 at the World Cup.
Yeah, Milford was the 6, I believe. So it must have been the 14 Harris-Tavita was.
Yeah. But it's under Andrew Webster, I really actually am quite excited to see how he plays. I think he can be a quality footballer as a halfback. I think he's a do the job if Shaun Johnson does succumb to an injury, which I mean we know he can definitely do. So yeah, I think for now I don't know where I'm going to put him in, do the job, but yeah, it's a tough one for me to rank.
I would lean, and I agree with you that all the kind of backup, we didn't actually put Tamade Martin into this list, which I probably should have. But with that being said, he probably would go exactly where Harris-Tavita is about to go. I'm thinking that right now, I think he's still got a few years left in him. He does have a prime opportunity because Shaun Johnson, definitely getting on an age now. I don't want to say what Clarkey did last year, because Clarkey made a huge mistake saying that he would end up, Shaun Johnson would finish off the year in reserve grade because he was getting older and it probably wasn't going to work out for him. We all know how that worked out, not for Shaun Johnson, but for Clarkey. But this year, I do think that obviously there's no guarantee that Shaun Johnson does it again. That could have been like the big year that got so close, didn't happen. So maybe you might see, Warriors fans, I love you. Please don't shoot me down, but you might see Harris-Tavita late on in the season if it's not going to plan for the Warriors. But it's more so kind of a project for probably 2025, I would say. I'd be probably looking towards putting it between Townsend and Trindall.
Yep. I could back that. I'm happy with that.
Give it a couple of years ago, you put Townsend above him, but I think right this very second, I'd probably put Chanel above him.
Yeah, just as well, I might have actually agreed with Clarkey last season and said the similar thing. Thankfully, I'm not, like one time you can't like your stars being a small creator, so no one remembered, but they did with Clarkey. So,
mate, you get people like myself, you get people like Clarkey, Guru, all these people, right? We will get slaughtered, absolutely slaughtered if we make a mistake. So, but it is what it is. As content creators, you got to take your licks, man. You got to cop it when it comes, and that's the whole point here. But in the same sense, it is our opinion. But I'm not saying Shaun Johnson finishes up in the New South Wales Cup this year, folks. That's not what I'm saying. Just saying there's no guarantee that he actually kicks on again in 2024, and maybe the Warriors start to look towards the future. You do not know. But okay. So are you happy above Townsend, below Trindall?
Yep. I'm happy to squeeze him in there.
All right, Rabbitohs now. We go to a guy who is their 5'8", but there is testy times. Cody Walker, potential for the 7 this year if Lachlan Ilias does not work out. Now, we did a coaching team maker with Hainsey, and we both actually had Demetrio on the brink of do the job down the bottom. And a lot of people actually complained and said, no, Jason Demetrio should be in the not that great category, which I think will come potentially this year if it doesn't work out. But his main kind of guy is Lachlan Ilias. That's why the whole Reynolds situation with the Broncos, he brought Ilias in, but it might not work out. So potentially you could see Cody Walker go to that 7 and Jack Whiten go into that 5'8" alongside him. Could be interesting. What are your thoughts on Cody Walker as a halfback, not a 5'8"?
It's interesting. I think it takes away from a lot of what Cody Walker does well. I think he's a run first half. Like, you watch him dig into that line so much and free up, that can give so much space to his outside men. His kicking game is okay. It's definitely probably not the greatest in the competition, but it's not the worst either. I think as a halfback, he can do the job as well. He's unproven there in the NRL. So I think that's probably the category that I'll put him in for now.
Yeah. It just feels weird, obviously, putting in like a really experienced player like a Cody Walker into unproven. But, and the only thing that I would go against in regards to putting him into unproven is that, look, the halfback, and I say this all the time, halfback and 5'8" are two very different positions. But with that being said, there are also a lot of similarities with what they do. So I feel like, obviously, Cody Walker for me is a pure 5'8". I actually don't see him translating a great deal into being that leading dominant halfback because I do think that a lot of his game, one, you can get into his head quite easily, ask me personally, but also two, I don't know if he has the control in his kind of anger to be able to really smooth it out in the tough periods, which is what a halfback needs to do. So happy to put him into unproven. But otherwise, I would probably be looking towards, in halfback, I'd put him into the do the job category just because I would be concerned about him losing the plot and then losing the direction because the plot has been lost, right? So would you disagree with that?
That's a fair point. Where would you put him in do the job if you're thinking about putting him in there?
I'd probably right now would probably put him above Trindall. I'd put him at the top because I do think that still very similar but different positions. But I would still lean towards saying, okay, you're right, put him into the top of unproven. But I think I've got a valid point in what I'm saying there, though.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm happy to chuck him in there. But yeah, again,
you want to put him at the top of do the job?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Okay, all right.
I think though, if we see Cody Walker playing 7 this year, the Rabbitohs have bigger issues at hand. But
absolutely, mate, absolutely, because then they would have realised that the Ilias venture instead of Reynolds was a failure. The Broncos made a grand final with Reno instead. You probably keep Reno. They probably, maybe, potentially go on and win it. I don't know. It might have changed their whole direction, but it changed the Broncos. So, yes, you're right. It would be a really telling sign for the Rabbitohs if we saw that. But all right, let's now go into the Bulldogs. And this player is listed as a halfback on NRL.com. It's Connor Tracey, who was at the Sharkies. Now he's at the Dogs. Obviously, we saw him mainly as a fullback, and then we saw him in the centres. I don't think we ever saw him as a halfback when he was at the Sharks. Maybe it's a mistake on NRL.com, or did he come up the system as a halfback, or is that what the Doggies are planning to do? I don't know.
I believe he was a halfback coming through at the Rabbitohs, and I'm pretty sure he made his debut there.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So it's that long ago. He can play there, but I think he might have played 2 or 3 games as a halfback in the NRL. And as he's got older, he's definitely more of an outside back, fullback mold. I think as a halfback, he'd be unproven or not that great.
Yeah, I'm thinking, there's a chance for unproven, but I just think that in regards to a halfback, I'm happy to chuck him. It's not that great. In regards to like a fullback or a center, I think it's kind of up in the air. Like, he's definitely doing the job. Even potentially, at times he's been lower end quality, but he'd probably be higher into the job in those positions. But I think as a halfback, we're not going to see him as a halfback, in my personal opinion. And there's plenty of depth there. Well, depth there at the Doggies. So I'd be happy to put him probably at the bottom of not that great.
Yeah, and it seems harsh for such a good player, like in other position, but we are talking about him as a halfback. Yeah. So
absolutely. Yeah. All right, let's go now into the barometer of the squeals. It is Daejarn Asi, who you do see at times if like Moses is down or Dylan Brown's down or or Moses if he gets into Origin, right? You'll see Daejarn Asi play as the 7 or the 6 there. In regards to what I've kind of seen from him, he's probably going to be playing centre this year for the Eels and probably in and out, shake it all about. I'd be probably looking towards as a halfback. I'm not really feeling it. I would put him a bit above Biondi-Odo, but from what I've seen, I'm not really feeling it in regards to Daejarn as a halfback. As a centre, I think that he has got a bit of something about him that will probably bump him up. But just as a halfback, I'm not saying it.
I think when he first came in last year, playing in the halves, he killed it the first couple of games, and then he got found out a little bit, which I think that's the sort of that thing. It's like, I mean, not anyone can have a good game in the NRL, but like these kind of players, these quality players, especially when no one's really seen them, they can sort of teams go, whoa, okay, right, this bloke can play football. But yeah, I think like the more he played, the more teams sort of figured him out in that kind of directional role. So I'm happy to agree with that.
The Eels had a few problems as well. You know, they had Dylan Brown issue. They had, I think Moses was injured at one stage. And I don't know, the Eels had a lot of kind of kerfuffle last year is what I'll say. That's not a great word, but it's the word that I'm using. So it didn't help him. But I think centre is more a position that I would like to see Daejarn Asi in, to be honest. But all right, let's go now into a controversial figure. Daly Cherry Evans here for the Manly Seagulls. I'll let you go first here, but I've got a pretty strong opinion on Daly Cherry Evans in a positive sense.
I think the fact that he was 34 last season, played his best season of club football for Manly, still Queensland captain. Yeah, that's what we're going to get on to. Still Queensland captain, like at the 7, winning when like they're not meant to be at the moment. Like, yeah, let's not have this conversation.
Man, that chase down was brilliant on Stephen Crichton.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it just every single year you go, okay, Cherry Evans is about to fall off. He's in his mid-30s now, and he just gets better. Like it's actually ridiculous. So for me, he's an elite halfback. He's definitely one of the top 5 halfbacks in the comp, in my opinion, anyway.
I've got him above Renault, to be honest with you. I think that he's done it at an elite level for a long time. I think that he just continues to... I think he was one of the best players in 2023 that really doesn't get spoken about. And obviously, yeah, Origin is just beautiful. As a Queenslander, as a Titans fan, obviously don't like the guy at all. But as a Queenslander and as an NRL fan, I think that he is definitely an elite halfback. And honestly, this is a contract year for Cherry Evans, because fun fact for everybody, that 10-year schmozzle of a contract that he signed in 2014. That's coming to an end this year, so 2024. So he's going to have to probably play to a bigger level this year to try and get another contract despite his age, right? And I think that he can do that. So, definitely put him into elite. And you have him above Renault as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like you look at him, one's playing Origin, one's not. And one's still killing it. Like it's, yeah.
And Cherry played in the World Cup as well, played a bit of 5'8" alongside Cleary, and also played the halfback as well. So he's still doing it at an international Origin and Manly level. I think people just get that Manly kind of thing and hate Manly, so they don't really give him the credit he deserves. But look, I think Cherry definitely is elite. But all right, let's go now into someone I've seen his name on like maybe 18th man or something around for the Sharkies, Daniel Atkinson. Do you know much about Daniel Atkinson?
He's played maybe 1 or 2 games, I think. Look, he come up from the Storm. I think if the Braydon, Trindall, Nico Hines thing doesn't work, if they play Trindall at 6, that Atkinson could take that spot at 6. Like he's a quality player, can play fullback 6 or 7. But yeah, he just unproven. He's played a bit for Italy, but I think
that's where I'm saying his name. Yeah, that's where I'm saying his name. Yeah.
So I think he's maybe 23, 24 now, around that age. So it's sort of it's definitely not beyond reach that he's going to be a household name in the NRL. Like you look at Cody Walker, like for example. But yeah, I think, this season could be make or break for Daniel Atkinson.
Yeah, 100%. I think this is probably the last year you could start to keep him in unproven. Otherwise, there are players, and especially with the Sharks as well, I think it was Jaden Burrell that we did for the Hookers. Like I think he's 28, 29 years old. And although he's played like 1 game or hasn't even debuted for the Sharks, he's still been in that system for a long time. So we've still had that kind of thought process that, well, it's probably going to go into not that great because he's been around for a long time and just not got that crack. So what's wrong? I think that could be the case with Atkinson if he doesn't get an opportunity. But for the time being, he's still 24 years old, 23, as he said. There's still time for him to kind of change it around. But, the chickens are about to start hatching those eggs, son. So next year, we'll see. But it's a tough job getting in at the Sharkies right now, to be fair. Let's go now to the South Sydney Rabbitohs. It is Dean Hawkins, another guy that I believe is going to go straight into the unproven category. Maybe if Ilias doesn't work out, they don't put Walker to the 7, and they might just put Dean Hawkins into the 7. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I've heard some rumors that he's definitely pushing Ilias for the 7 spot to even start the year. And I think that sort of shows you.
Wow, I haven't even heard that. That's crazy.
And Ilias is Demetrio's baby. So I think that sort of shows you how well Dean Hawkins is going and like impressing at South preseason. There's people that have a lot of like raps on him. He's played a lot of New South Wales Cup and does well there. And I wouldn't be surprised, especially if Cody Walker plays Origin, that he comes in and impresses, to be honest.
That's crazy to hear about obviously, yeah, Darius Boyd, Wayne Bennett to Lachlan Ilias and Jason Demetrio. You know, those guys, they just kind of come together. And yeah, that'd be crazy if Dean Hawkins could lock that spot up. We'll see, obviously, in preseason. This would come out surely before preseason. So, look, it'll be interesting to see how that one goes there. But Unproven, I'd put him above Atkinson, below Blake Taafe. Or would you put him above Blake Taafe?
I'd probably put him above Blake Taafe just because halfback is his position, where I think Blake Taafe, it's not his first.
Yeah, fullback. So. Yeah. All right, let's go now back to the doggies. We're here for a long time with the doggies. It is Drew Hutchison, who came across from the Sydney Roosters. I think this guy's going to go straight into the do the job, but whereabouts would you put him in do the job?
Yeah, do the job. He's an absolute toiler. He just does, literally does the job. He kicks the corners, directs his team around the park. He's never going to do anything flashy, but he's just you feel safe if your team picks Drew Hutchison. Where I have him is tough. I think, honestly, behind Braydon and Trindall, the more and more I watch Drew Hutchison play, I rate him more and more. I think from where he's come from in his career as well to where he is now, it's props to him. But
so I was considered so I wasn't too far off. I had him originally probably around that Aidan Sezer kind of range, just because they've got a bit more X factor in them. But I can also see. I don't know if I'd take him over Chanel Harris-Tavita, especially with that international rep behind it, even though it is for Samoa. But then again, they were good in that World Cup. They made the World Cup final and beat England. Would you take Drew Hutchison above Chad Townsend if the Dragons were calling?
Probably, to be honest.
You would? Fair. Yeah, look, okay, I'm happy with that one. It'd be interesting to see what Cowboys fans think of that, to be honest with you. I know Roosters fans love it because I know I think Drew Hutchison is one of those players where it's like Chrissy Randall at the Titans, right? Where you have to be a Titans fan or, for example, Drew Hutchison's case, a Roosters fan to really acknowledge the quality that they actually do provide, is what I would say there. And, Roosters fans do talk quite highly on Hutchison as a do-the-job kind of player. Just like Titans fans, we say Chris Randall is a phenomenal player, absolutely phenomenal. But if you're not watching Titans games, you just don't see it. So, happy with that one, Drew Hutchison. Above Townsend, we'll see what Cowboys fans have to say there. All right.
I think as well, sorry, just before I just cut you off, Drew Hutchison's a Dragons junior, and he was he came through with Jackson Hastings, Jack Bird, and he was so, so good. And I think maybe there's a little bit of that inherent bias there with Drew Hutchison, but man, he was destined for amazing things, and his bloody body just gave up on him. So.
Yeah, I can see it. I'm okay with it. I don't think it's a great deal, drastic difference, and at least it'll provide more people to give their opinions in the Premier chat and in the comment section.
Yeah.
But all right, let's go to the new man of the Newcastle Knights. Jack Cogger was at the Penrith Panthers, and now he's moved across. Wasn't going to get the opportunity there at the Panthers, and probably is going to find it difficult to still get into the Knights, considering they've got Jackson Hastings, as we'll get to. What are your thoughts on Jack Cogger, considering that he'll probably get even less of an opportunity at the Knights based on the fact that Jackson Hastings isn't playing Origin? Clearly did. Cogger goes in there. Here, how does he go in unless there's an injury?
So Jack Cogger, right, he did a phenomenal job in the grand final. And I think a lot of people now, look, he's a good quality NRL player, but a lot of people think he's a lot better than he may present because he was so good at what he did in that grand final. And what he did was do the job. What he did was be a halfback just to take the pressure off Cleary and let him do what he had to do. That's why I think he's still a do-the-job halfback. But as you said, it's tough for him to actually get a spot in that team. If you wanted to play 5'8", you got Tyson Gamble, Will Price. There's someone else I'm missing there. Eddie. That's just, he's a do-the-job player for me. But I don't know.
He's definitely did the job. I think that, he did a great job in that grand final, but you've also got to remember, as you would know, Nathan Cleary was there. You have guys like Dylan Edwards, not Jahrome Luai, he was off the field. They've got Liam Martin, they've got James Harris, they've got Moses Leota. There's some amazing players around, and Brian To'o. So, yes, he came in and did a good job, and he absolutely killed it to finish off that last 15, 20 minutes or whatever. But now he's at the Knights. It's going to be interesting to see how we can go without a team of that kind of caliber, a bunch of hard workers there. I do think that Jack Cogger is definitely a do-the-job player. He's not going to be a bad player by any means. But where are you kind of looking? I'm kind of thinking, based off of what we saw in that grand final, is kind of where my mind is leaning towards. Would you take him above or below Drew Hutchison? I'd probably take him above.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's probably the perfect spot to put Cogger in there because he's not up that he's not pushing quality. So if you want to put him any higher, you're starting to think that he's pushing.
There'll be guys who still go above him here, man. There'll still be guys who go above him into the job. That'll push him a little bit further down, which will make it a little bit more sense. And yeah, he probably doesn't get what we've seen is limited. But when we saw it, it was decent. But then as well, it was with the Panthers. But he can only play with what he's got around him. So it's such a difficult situation there.
Yeah.
We'll see with the Knights if he can get an opportunity. Jackson Hastings, I wouldn't say he's injury prone, but has had a few injuries from time to time. So maybe you might see him get an opportunity at some point. And touch wood, that doesn't happen to Jacko, but I'm just saying that has happened in the past with Jackson. So, maybe. But with that being said, we'll try to do the job. But guess what? We're going straight into Jackson Hastings here. We are into the Newcastle Knights man, who probably is going to be their halfback. I would say guaranteed is their halfback today. Great job last year. Don't think there was any kind of X factor to what Jackson Hastings provided. But I would definitely put him probably on this list. I'd probably put him at the very top end of do the job or very low end quality. But I would probably lean towards that top end of the job just because I'm always telling you guys this. I'm a big fan of the old X Factor. I want to see a little bit of something. Would you probably put him alongside Ben Hunt or would you probably put him right at the top of do the job?
It's tough. I think I'm leaning towards the lower end of quality. I just think with Jackson Hastings in that Knights team, you don't need him to be X Factor because you've got the bloke with probably the second most X Factor in the whole comp in Kalen Ponga. You just need Hastings to get to his spots to free up Ponga to do what he does. So, and I think he's really, really good at that. His kicking game, the way he can control the game is really, really good. And he's maturing as a player, which I think you can see week to week now. So yeah, I think do the job right at the top. It does seem a little bit harsh when you think about how good that the Knights were and how good Hastings was towards the back end of the year.
Yeah, no, I think that's fine. I think that there are definitely roles. I think that Newcastle would be such a specific role-playing team comparatively to other teams. And I think Jackson Hastings does play his role quite solidly, right? So, yeah, I will say I will put him into the bottom end quality with you. I agree with that one there. All right, let's go into the Melbourne Storm, and it is Jahrome Hughes. Jahrome Hughes here, who would you still have him? I would say that the Storm, they are reliant upon that spine right now. They are so heavily reliant on that spine because the other positions outside of the spine aren't exactly out of this world, let's say, right? So I would say that the spine of the Storm could argue number one, could argue number two. Don't really matter. They're still top two in the game. What are your thoughts on Jahrome Hughes as a 7? Are you still heavily believing that he can be the guy to get the job done again?
I don't think he is, to be honest. It's so hard because he's such a good player, but since Cameron Smith's left, he hasn't really been that red hot. I guess he's had some injury issues and that sort of thing, but I don't know. I think because Jahrome Hughes plays a different style of 7 where he wasn't actually directing the team around. That's what Cameron Smith was doing. That's just because how good he was that he could play as a dummy half and a halfback essentially wrapped up in one. And I think he's struggling to adapt to getting the team around as a 7. I think a lot of people absolutely love Jahrome Hughes, but I don't think I'm as high on him as other people.
Well, the thing is with the Storm, right, is that most people are going to straight up put him into elite because of that spine. But I think that he definitely was elite last year. But I do think the stocks have kind of slightly dipped a little bit. I think they have dipped. I think the competition halfbacks have risen. And I do think that there are other guys that are above him currently. And we've already got 2 there in elite. I do currently think that Reynolds is playing at a better performance than what Jahrome Hughes is. I do think Jerry Evans, absolutely. And there is still, some big time players to come in this list. So I do think that this is probably the right position, but I guarantee you there'll be people who disagree with it based on the Storm spine. But I'd be happy. I still would put him above Ben Hunt though in quality. He's still top of quality though.
Yeah, absolutely. And same sort of thing as putting in Connor Tracey and not that great. It seems really harsh just given the quality of the player, but yeah, I don't know. There's just something I can't like put my finger on it, but there's something about him where I'm just like, oh, I don't know.
There's just something there. I agree. There is just something there. But all right, let's go to Jake Arthur here for the Manly Seagulls. And this is not involved with the meme culture, guys. This is just a general opinion. I do think that Jake Arthur is not that great. I was believing that maybe when he moved to Manly, it was maybe going to work out for him, considering that obviously at the Eels, it didn't work out for him. But I don't think I've seen it from him. I don't think I have, and I would be leaning towards putting him into the not that great category. But I would probably put him above the three guys that we do currently have there.
Yeah, I do tend to agree with that. Like respectfully to Jake Arthur, I don't think he's like if you have his name on the team sheet at the 7, you've gone, oh boy, okay, could be in a bit of trouble. And I feel like his time at Para just knocked the confidence right out of him. And same at like Manly, he just doesn't look like he wants to back himself. He's also like he's a big frame, but there's not much meat on his body as well. So he sort of like I feel like contact, he just gets dominated every time. And again, that's just kind of stuff with your confidence. So yeah, I think like the poor bloke just needs a bit of an arm around his shoulder, and just told he's going to be all right. But yeah, for me at the moment, he's probably not that great.
Yeah, would you put him above the other three guys though?
I think between him and Daejarn Asi, like either of them, I'm happy to have at number 1 there. So
I think that maybe Jake Arthur has more of an opportunity than Daejarn. Oh, to be fair, they're in both similar positions. Actually, they're both in very similar positions at their respective clubs. But yeah, I'd probably put Jake Arthur just above because I do think we've seen something at times. Thinking we've seen actually they're very similar. Put them on top of each other.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. But all right, let's go now to the Cowboys. And like I said before, bold call. I could see Jake Clifford actually getting an opportunity at the Cowboys this year, whether it be in the 7 or whether it be in the 6, because I do actually believe they would move Tom Dearden there because we do know that Queensland kind of wants a 7 coming forward, and there's no guarantees with Sammy Walker. So yeah. Jake Clifford as a 7, we did see him originally at the Cows, then went to the Knights. I think he went to the Super League, and now he's back here at the Cows. Where are you thinking in regards to the halfback position?
Really weird with Jake Clifford because he was good at the Cowboys. Like he was proper good. And then he signed with the Knights. I was like, that's a really good sign for them. And it just didn't work out. I don't know whether it was just because he was so far away from family. Like just these things sometimes just don't work out. And then he just went over to the Super League and seemingly killed it over there. Like, I'll be honest, I don't really keep up with it too much. And now he's back. And a lot of people are very bullish on him. And I'm like, I don't know. It's interesting. I think as a halfback, he's definitely a do the job. I feel like he's probably more naturally a 6 than a 7.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as a halfback, I think he's do the job. Whether he does a better job than Chad Townsend, controversially, we might put him above him. But, yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, because I was looking at Drew Hutchison. I think Drew Hutchison is the middle ground right now. I think he's the dead set middle because there's always a middle ground when we do these tier list, guys. I would say right now I'd probably still take Drew above Clifford, to be fair. But I do think there's more potential, obviously, in Clifford than what we could see out of Drew Hutchison. So, yeah, in the hub, like I said, I believe he'll probably go to the 6. Tommy did into the 7. So if we're doing a 5-8 team maker, you're definitely putting Jake Clifford above there. But yeah, interesting situation that have come from the Cowboys this year because we do have him above Townsend on this list. We do have him above Townsend, which is quite controversial. But okay, let's go to the Canberra Raiders, a guy that I know from his Gold Coast Titans days. But I will be as realistic as possible here and tell you guys my genuine thoughts. That's what I try my best to do here, despite potential feelings about certain players or whatnot. I think that Jamal Fogarty for the Raiders, and as he was at the Gold Coast Titans too, I think he's the epitome of a do-the-job halfback. I don't think that you're going to see X Factor, but I don't think you're going to see awful play. I just think you're going to get real kind of plateau, knows what he's doing, will do his best job for the club, but there's nothing that really kind of lights the world on fire. So I would put him at the very top of do the job.
I tend to agree. Like the thing with Jamal Fogarty is like his worst game is going to give you a 6 out of 10. His best game is probably going to be a 7 out of 10. Like he's very, very like just consistent, gets on the field, does what he has to do to try and get his team over the line. So I think like he's definitely a quality halfback. I think a lot of clubs would love to have him within their system. So I'm very happy to have him at the top and do the job.
Yeah, I just think that, he's one of those guys you look at and you say, he's going to do it, not at a great level, but he'll do it. It'll be interesting to see actually how he goes with the Raiders this year with the fact they've lost Jack Whiten. He's going to have
spine.
They've got no spine, right? They've got potentially KO Leaks or Ethan Strange in 5'8". The fullback, we don't even know who the fullback is. Is it Xavier Savage or is it Chevy Stewart? God knows. Only Ricky Stewart knows. And then the 9, Tom Starling, Zach Wilford. Oh, geez, Jamal, you're going to have to really stand up this year, my guy.
Yeah.
You're going to have to really stand up this year at the Raiders because they're, wowee, especially with their backline as well. Gee whiz. But yeah, top ended right at the top of do the job. Be interesting to see how he goes. Okay, we go to the Tigers now, and I don't think he'll play 7, but there's a potential if Sezer doesn't work out. Jaden Sullivan, more than likely he's playing the 6. I think he's actually a fantasy Supercoach bolter this year. I think he's a really good price, and we'll get some good money there as a starting 5'8". Jeez, I'm dying here. But what do you think about Jaden Sullivan coming across from, obviously, your Dragons?
So again, this might be a little bit biased because especially like he's a local boy, like Illawarra boy, but I actually think he is better as a 7 than a 6. We've seen him a lot more as a 6 NRL because of Ben Hunt. So when he's had that opportunity to play, he's played more of a 6. But growing up, when he came through the systems and stuff, he was a 7 because Junior Ramon was the 6. So I think if he gets, like, I feel like he's more likely to get the 7 jersey than the 6 because Latu Fainu, who's also coming through, is more
massive
of a 6.
raps, yeah.
So yeah, I do think for me personally, I think he's a do the job. I can understand if like people who haven't watched him pretty much his whole life would put him as a not that great, but yeah, I do think like probably at the moment I have him at that lower end of do the job just given he hasn't had that much opportunity, very injury prone.
I'll ask you a question. Do you think that we could see Jaden Sullivan go into the 7 at some point this year, Latu into the 6, and then potentially if Sullivan kills it, do you think Luai might actually go to the 6 rather than the 7 in 2025? Or do you think that regardless they'll keep Luai as the 7 next year?
I think regardless, I'll keep Luai as the 7 next year. Like I think that's why he's signed there. He's taken over that team and he's going to try and prove everyone wrong. I think that's Luai's mindset.
He's going to have to prove a lot of people wrong in regards to going into that 7, to be fair. But do you know how many games Jaden Sullivan has played as a halfback rather than a 5'8"?
Oh, it'd be like 10 probably. Like in the NRL.
Yeah, so he played a bit of halfback for the Dragons, did he?
Yeah. Like when he first came through, I think like they tried. I don't know. It's weird. They tried to beef him up and make him a 9, and it just didn't work.
Because where was Ben Hunt when he was playing halfback?
Ben Hunt would have been at Origin the times he would have played.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough. Because I'm just thinking potentially considering putting him as Unproven in the halfback position. A 5'8", we would have already ranked him, to be fair. Where would you put him in, do the job if you were to rank him? I'll listen to you here as the Dragons fan who is going to another team. Where would you put him in, do the job? Because I do rank him. I do think he's good. That's why I said I think he's a bolter for Supercoach this year. I think he's a great pick up there for like 330,000. Where would you put him there?
Well, quickly as well, I've had a look at his rugby league project. He's played 17 games in the NRL as a halfback. He's played 13 as a 5'8".
Oh, wow. He's actually played more games as a halfback than he has a 5'8". Gee whiz.
And it makes sense. Ben Hunt broke his leg in 2021.
Okay.
And Sullivan came in and took that role. In regards to our tier list, I would have him. Honestly, I feel like I'm squeezing between Townsend and Sezer.
Yeah, I would even but then again, I think it's just because I'm excited in his potential. Based on potential, I'm putting him actually like up above Drew Hutchison, around Jack Cogger. But based off what we've seen, yeah, I'd probably put Sullivan above Sezer there. And I do think the Chad Townsend experience is probably what gets him over the line. But yeah, that's going to be great. I'm looking forward to seeing that, to be fair. I'm looking forward to seeing kind of what can happen in that regard. All right, next up here, we're going to go to Jock Madden, I think it is. Yeah, Jock Madden here for the Brisbane Broncos. Another guy who Broncos fans kind of need to be the next guy. They kind of need him to be the next person. What are your thoughts on Jock Madden?
Again, another guy coming through, had massive raps, played Aussie schoolboys the year that I came through school, I think. Like the year I graduated, he was out like 7. It's there, but it's not. If it makes sense, like he's got something about him, but I just don't think at the NRL level he's kicked on. Like you again is one of those players you watch his like reserve grade highlights and you're like, oh my goodness, this bloke is phenomenal. And then he gets to NRL and it's just like, like he's that kind of if there was a gap, like another competition between the NRL and reserve grade, that seems like to be his level at the moment. He's still like 23, 20, like 20, 24 this year. So there's still potential there for him. Like, to be honest, I saw him and straight away just put him straight above Drew Hutchison in the middle of do the job.
Oh wow, you thinking that high? Okay. I was thinking probably low end to do the job. I haven't, but
Yeah,
then again,
okay.
I haven't seen a great deal about him. But when, yeah, I think that he's okay.
Yeah.
Where would I put him though? Like, so you're putting him straight above Drew Hutchison. I would like personally. I'm probably taking Jaden Sullivan over Jock Madden. To be fair,
Yeah.
I'd probably put him below Jaden Sullivan. So do you want to kind of probably aim towards? I don't know if he can go above Chad Townsend with the experience there, but then again, he did fall off quite a bit last year, Chad Townsend. Do you want to put him in between Townsend and Clifford just because it's in between kind of what we both said?
Yeah, okay. That works.
I think that'd be interesting to see what people think about Jock Madden because I know a lot of people will probably put him in not that great, but I don't think he's not that great. I think that he's do the job. Just need to see some more. I need to see some more for sure.
That's it. I think the couple of games he played for the Broncos last season, he was actually quite all right. I mean, looking at it just quickly here, he played 5 games last year, won 2, lost 3. So for a good Broncos team, that's probably not great viewing. But yeah.
maybe he does drop down to below Jaden Sullivan. To be fair, but to be fair, Jaden Sullivan wouldn't have a great track record with the Dragons either. To be fair,
nah, I feel like his winning percentage would probably be 4.
Yeah, geez, 4% out of 100. Gee whiz. Geez. But all right, Jock Madden above Townsend, below Clifford. Next up, we'll go Jonah Pezzett for the Storm. I think that he's probably played enough games now, hasn't he, to probably be ranked. He's kind of in and out. I think Jonah Pezzett's probably going to go do the job category as well, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a guy that, given his potential, in a couple of years' time, you could be talking about him in the quality area, and I think it might put him up a little bit in there, like do the job here. But yeah, when he's come in, his first couple of games, I was like, oh, okay, like you've got a bit of work to do.
Yeah.
But then the more minutes he got, the more comfortable he was there. I was like, okay, now I'm starting to see why this guy had so many raps on him. I think he's got all the makings to be a quality footballer in that Storm team. They're not going to push him in there too early as well. So yeah. Jonah Pezzett's definitely one to watch out for in the future.
I'm thinking right now, I would personally take Jonah Pezzett above Drew Hutchison.
Yeah. I feel like the Cowboys could do worse than have him there. The Tigers would probably want him there.
Yeah, well, I think that he would do a great job, a better job than a couple of the guys below him. So, would you have Jack Cogger above him?
Probably.
Yeah.
Just because he does have that bit more experience and he's been around the block a couple of times more. So.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, we're going to my boy here for the Gold Coast Titans. It is Kieran Foran. Finally, we've got to the greatest premiership winning team of 2024. And it is, I don't know why we're laughing here. There's no funny business here. We are here at Fozza, Kieran Foran. I'm not a massive fan of him as a 7. I think that he does a good job as a 9, and I think he's phenomenal as a 5'8". He was in the quality tier for the 5'8" department. And actually, Supercoach Experience, Brennan Savage actually ranked him higher than what I was thinking he was going to rank him. So it was really nice to see. But as a halfback, I'm not a massive fan of Fozza as a halfback. But I do think he's doing the job, and I do think he's up at that higher end. And I probably would say he's around that Cody Walker area.
I completely agree. I think I'm probably more inclined to like him as a halfback than you are. I feel like he's one of those players that he's the closest thing to a halfback as a 5'8", if that makes any sense.
I would agree.
Like, I feel like he's not going to be the bloke that busts the game open himself, but he's going to be setting up your David Fafitas to like just isolate one-on-one to the half and put him through a hole. Like, I think, is AJ Brimson going to play that left side? Is he right?
Yeah, look, he's going to be partnering Phil Sammy with the other side being Brian Kelly and Lofiana Campera.
Yeah, right. I was going to say, because I feel like, anyway, this is a Titans discussion, not a halfback discussion. Kieran Foran as a halfback.
Yeah, but it does kind of impact him, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, because obviously you've got your 5'8" on one side and your halfback on the other side. So, although that's a Titans discussion, that does impact what Kieran Foran could provide if he was in the halfback.
Yeah, I just think like that, like left center coming off Kieran Foran as well. Like, it their game's going to be so much more bolstered because just the space that Kieran Foran can set up for someone. Like he's got such a good rugby league IQ. He's played so much football. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Well, look, I would put him probably... I'd put him above Cody Walker, below Fogarty, or would you put him above Fogarty?
I'd probably actually, as a halfback, yeah, I'd put him above Walker. I think because Fogarty plays week in, week out in that halfback position, and we've really seen what he does there. I'd feel a bit funny about putting him above Fogarty. So yeah.
Yeah, look, I think that if someone is asking if there's a draft and it's between Fogarty and Foz and it's halfback, I probably would select Foz maybe, but it's still 50-50. And because what we see right now, I would say Jamal Fogarty is probably above him based on the fact that he does play week in, week out. And look, Fogarty has a massive thing to prove this year with the fact that the team has gone downhill in regards to a lot of good positions around him. And Foz doesn't play the 7; he plays the 6 with the guy that's about to come soon, who plays above him, who's his best mate. You can't separate them. You cannot separate the two of Foz and Tan. But okay, we're going to go now into... So we're just to confirm Cody Walker and Jamal Fogarty in between, right?
Yep.
Beautiful. All right. We go to Cody Nikorima here for the Dolphins. Don't think he's really going to get too much of a crack there at the Dolphins, the 7. Also not a massive fan of him as a 7. I'd probably say he's more of a 6 or a fullback. I wouldn't say that he's a game-leading kind of halfback. I would lean in this specific position. I would lean into not that great, but as a 5'8", as a fullback, I would have a different opinion.
Absolutely agree. I think you look at Cody Nikorima, and he's that kind of guy that if he's got a dominant 7 next to him, it frees up his game and what he does so much more. He's a good ball runner, can put a second rower through a hole and stuff, but he just pops up wherever the ball is. And I think when he plays halfback, he isn't afforded that luxury to be able to do that because he's got to be controlling the game and directing his guys around and worrying about where you're going to be by the end of the set, rather than just playing ad-lib footy, which is Nikorima's best quality for sure.
Yeah, so I'm thinking probably in between Daejarn Asi and Biondi-Odo.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking more toward... I'll probably have him at the top, to be honest, just because
as a halfback, you'd have him above Jake Arthur.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I think as a 5'8", I think he's higher. As a halfback, I think specifically, I don't see him as a leader. That's the only reason I probably put him below Daejarn and Jake, because we probably have seen him more as a halfback rather than Cody Nikorima. Would you say the same?
The only thing I think is because he's just played so much NRL, he's played 150 plus games, he does have that experience where he probably could get his team around a little bit better than Arthur.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm happy to put him at the top end. They're not that great there. But basically, guys, these tiers, the names of them are just a guide. It's just a guide so that we can kind of get a good kind of ranking system there. But okay, let's go into, your boy, the St. George Illawarra Dragons. It is Kyle Flanagan, the son of Shane Flanagan, who is your coach and is probably going to play 5'8" because of Benny Hunt. But it does come, obviously, after playing halfback at pretty much every club that he's been at, the Sharkies, the Roosters, and the Bulldogs. I definitely can't see him playing in that halfback unless they do decide to move on from Benny Hunt. But what are your thoughts on Kyle Flanagan?
Well, firstly, he's gone straight top of elite, but...
Muppets!
The thing with Kyle Flanagan, I think he'll wear the 6 but play as the halfback. That's what all reports are sort of going to be. Whether that's just because he's Shane's son and, but I do think that...
I did hear when I said Shane's son there, you had a little bit of I felt like there was a little bit of a giggle there as if I was taking a shot. I wasn't taking a shot, but I was just referring to the fact that he was a coach, but go on.
Yeah, I think in an ideal world, Kyle Flanagan is developing into a number 9. I think that's what Shane wanted to do with him originally, but just our 6th position is seemingly cursed. So, good luck to whoever does start in round 1 there. But yeah, I just think with Flanagan, he'll wear 6, play halfback so that Ben Hunt can just do what he does, go around. He's had a tough time of it, pro Kyle Flanagan. He came into the NRL to replace Cooper Cronk. Cheers, thanks for that. No one's going to be able to fit into that job seamlessly. And then he just got put through the ringer a little bit. If we're being honest, his time in the NRL has shown that he's not that great. There was, especially coming through, it looked like he was going to be really, really good. But it just hasn't worked out the way that he would have wanted to, that everyone would have wanted to be honest.
I would put him right now because there was when he was at the Sharkies, he looked decent, and then when he went to the
Under Shane Flanagan.
Roosters, yeah, oh yeah, fair. That's a good point. That's a very good point actually. But there's also controversial notion around that. And then you go to the Roosters, and I thought he was okay. I thought he was fine. Doggies, no, just no. And now he's at the Dragons, which probably won't help him out a great deal. I do think that in the halfback position, I would put him as not that great. I would put him at the top, though. I would put him above Nick Raymer. And I do think that there is a chance by the end of this year when he gets all this opportunity for him to bump up. But then again, he's not going to be on the sheet as a halfback. So that's why we can't really kind of, you know, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes this year. But I guess he could go into the do the job category. I did have high hopes originally, just haven't been able to see it just yet. But
I think like with Kyle Flanagan, if it doesn't work for him this year, it's not going to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But the thing is that I don't want to put this out into the world, but he does have his day as coach. He probably will get another contract. But with that being said, because look at Billy Walters, he has come onto his own as a hooker at the Broncos, but that's also because he's been consistently given an opportunity by his dad. But he has come into his own too, and I think that could happen with Kyle. It could happen with Kyle. But it'll be interesting to see. And it's funny that you said that the 5'8" position is cursed at the Dragons because our hooker is always cursed at the Titans. Yeah. So I do know the feeling. Like Sammy Verrills right now, great, but unfortunately was injured, and we've just never really had a top tier hooker. And I feel that's pretty much similar with your 5'8" department. Yeah. So it's
what it feels like.
Yeah, I know it feels like. But all right, let's go into Lachlan Ilias here for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Where do you put him? Where do you put this guy? Because he was highly, highly sought after by Jason Demetriou. That's why Reynolds obviously was moved on to the Broncos. They wouldn't give him a 3-year contract. They said, you know what, Lachlan Ilias is our guy. The Rabbitohs are right now, I'd say the two biggest question marks on the team do surround the halfback and also the coach. And then I would say maybe your front rowers would be the next in line after that. Yeah. But overall, what are your thoughts on Lachlan Ilias? Because I do think that he is definitely still going to be and do the job. But I think that if he doesn't do it this year, he will go into not that great next year.
It's really hard. Like, he debuted 2022 against the Dragons and blitzed it. It was like, oh my goodness, who is this bloke? Like, why have you just come in against the Dragons and torched us? I think he's suffered from second-year syndrome, which we do see from time to time, especially with a spine player. So I feel like he definitely can bounce back. I think he also just got caught up in whatever happened behind closed doors with the Rabbitohs. I feel like he definitely got caught up in that. Look, it hasn't come out. Maybe one day in Sam Burgess' book in 15 years, it might come out what happened. But whatever it was like,
we're going to find out a lot in that book, by the way. We'll find out. We're going to find out a lot about that club in
good
that
read.
book. But yeah, keep going.
Because like they were 12 rounds in, coming first, and they missed the final. So whatever it was dramatic, and I obviously think it affects your halfback a lot and your coach because they're going to be the two people that get criticised the most. That's just how the rugby league works.
Yep.
I do think there's still a lot of potential for Lachlan Ilias. He is a do-the-jobber at the moment. Where, though, is the question?
It's a great question. It is a really good question. So I'm just moving around this team maker right now so that it can fit everyone in down to the sides. Everyone can see everybody. We'll have to move that around a bit. But I would say, I would still right now, I think this could be the biggest drop-off or the biggest riser in 2024. He could next year. Like, honestly, if they had a great year and he was a big part of it, I would not be surprised if he was able to force himself into a back end of quality or a high end to do the job by 2025. But I also would not be surprised if he failed this year that he would go into the middle of not that great. So I think that right now he is at the peak of either side. I would still back in what potentially could be seen out of him over a guy like a Drew Hutchison. But I do, right this very second, think that maybe I'd back in more of the potential out of a Jack Cogger, Jonah Pezzett, Chanel Harris-Tavita than Ilias. I think that's probably the perfect position for him in between Pezzett and Hutchison.
That's exactly where I slotted him in. So
that's a hard one, though, man.
Somehow agree on that because that tough.
That is the hardest one. I would love to know what everyone else is kind of thinking in regards to that. So obviously in the Premier chat, go and drop it right now. But yes, that is a difficult one. But all right, let's go to Latu Fainu here for the West Tigers. I would say that straight up he goes into unproven, but based on his raps, I'd probably put him right at the top.
That's exactly where I had him. From all reports, he's ridiculously good. Seen a little bit of him in like Josie Flegg, and like he killed it. My main thing is how's he going to go against men. He has played some New South Wales Cup and was good, but the NRL against a whole different beast.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I would agree with that one. Sorry, as you're talking, I'm still trying to shape this so that we can get everybody in here. But guys, we will get there. Don't you worry. We will get there. But yeah, that's why I was kind of doing it just then, because I know that Latu Fainu was a guy that we hear a lot about. Has a great deal of opportunity to prove it at the Tigers with the everything going on there. But with that being said, I don't think he'll get the spot early days over Jaden Sullivan, and we'll see how Benji does utilizing, because we don't know how Benji is as a coach yet. We do not know kind of anything about how Benji will do. So, be very interesting to see. All right, let's go to Luke Keary here for the Sydney Roosters. Has been a halfback in the past, obviously more so now, playing 5'8" with Sam Walker at the helm as a halfback. As a halfback, I think probably he's going to go into... Oh, would you put him kind of around that Kieran Foran area?
I had him a bit... Oh, yeah. I don't know.
I just think that's the experience kind of... I'm thinking there. You might push him down based on the potential of others. I prefer him as a 5'8". As a 5'8", I'd probably... He has lost a lot of his kind of... X factor though. Like he has lost a lot of what he had in the 2018, 2019 days due to his age. Obviously, he did win a comp in 2014 with the Rabbitohs as well. But yeah, look, I'd be happy to put him lower because I can feel that's what you're about to say.
Looking at like who else we had in do the job, I've squeezed in between Foran and Walker. Cody Walker. Yep. Yeah. Look, I think that's probably fair because Walker 1 isn't a 7, he's a 6, but there's potential there. And so is Luke Keary, to be fair, actually. They're probably in very similar points here, actually. And Cody Walker probably has more potential to go into that 7. But I think from what we've seen from Keary, he'd still be able to get it done. You know what I'm saying? He'd still be able to get it done at a pretty high level. And I think Cody Walker, Keary, Fogarty, and Foran, maybe not Fogarty, those 3 guys there are kind of in a very similar position, to be fair. They're all 5'8" that can play halfback, but I don't know. We'll just chuck him there. There you go, Kieran. Just throw him right there, mate. Roosters fans, just thank me later, all right? All right, Matty Burton here with the Dogs. Probably another one that he's not the experience level, but look, Matty Burton, controversial one. Dogs fans don't like what I have to say, but with that being said, I'm going to say it. I don't believe that Matt Burton is a half, and I'm talking 5'8". I'm talking halfback. Yes, I don't believe it, but I do think he's the best 5'8". At the club. I do think he's the best 5'8", but that doesn't mean that I think he's a great 5'8", right? I prefer him as a centre. But with that being said, they do not have the talent right now to not have him as a 5'8" and to be a part of those halves. But I'm just not a massive fan of it. So in regards to the halfback, I haven't seen him play a halfback at any stage. I would be happy to put him into unproven at a stage. But with that being said, I'd love to hear what you have to say. So I actually disagree with what you said about him being a half in the 5'8". Only because... like, he was so good, but they had to squeeze him into that side somewhere at Penrith, so he played centre, which he'd never played before. Played there in Origin, was good. Both times, he's in a stacked team. So, playing centre isn't all that hard because you've got so many good players around you. I think he's just been caught up in the fact that the Bulldogs are so awful and so much... like falls on.
Go for him now, Dogs fans. You can go for him after that insult. Beautiful.
That's right. I'm a Dragons fan. I deserve whatever I get. So yeah, I just think he's been forced to try and play as like 4 people in one so far in his time at the Bulldogs. It is hard, like because he was so good at center. I can understand the rhetoric around it, but as you said, like there's no better 5'8" at that club. So
I think I think I said this in the 5'8" team maker as well, that maybe my thought process on Matt Burton not being a good 5'8" also derives from the fact that they do not have a halfback that really can get the best out of him and really lead it. And I love Tobes. Tobes is a friend of mine. Like we'll get to him in a bit, but I don't think that Burton has had the greatest deal of support in the halves department just yet for him to be his best. And maybe that's where I get that viewpoint from, because it is maybe just that partnership thing. But so maybe it could be a 7, but I don't see him as the leading guy. I see him as the floating 5'8" and whatnot. So,
and that's the thing. I think it's like as a halfback, unproven. I don't want to see him play with the 7 on his back ever again, to be honest. He's not a halfback.
I would put him last as halfback.
Yeah.
In unproven, I'm saying.
Yeah.
Were you thinking I was saying like below kind of Tracey level? I'm not that great. No, I'm saying unproven.
I was just thinking, like, looking at like these unproven guys, I'm like, well, Daniel Atkinson, Blake Taafe, Dean Hawkins, and Latu Fainu are all halfbacks in one sense or another, compared to Matt Burton, who he doesn't direct a team around. He can kick, but yeah, that's it.
I tell you what, like if it wasn't for if like we were ranking just based off the fact that he's played some games, I would put him at the back end of not that great for a halfback because that's just not his game style. But he hasn't played many games yet, so we'll put him in unproven. That's just based off of what we think would happen if Burton was the leading dominant halfback. But we are about to get to 3 pretty massive names here. We're about to get 3 pretty massive names. And the first one here is Mitchell Moses for the Parramatta of the Squeals. Listen, what are your thoughts on Mitchell Moses? Because he's in a pretty kind of weird point of his career, I would say.
He's a good footballer. He's a quality halfback, in my opinion. That's where I'm putting him. But he has all the tools to go up and be an elite halfback, but I don't know. I feel like he just needs to let go and let himself play football. It seems like there's just that little bit, like, look, from what he said, like the other day in the interview, I was like, right, his mindset, he's switched on. He wants to realize his potential, but it's just about actually doing it. They've got the forward pack, like we spoke about before, that halfbacks, you need a good forward pack for him to be able to get the best out of him. The Eels forward pack is bloody good.
It's good, yeah.
And it's again, it's one of those things. It's like, I mean, like they missed the finals last year. Like they like underperformed severely last season. So it is weird.
I would say, because I did a video about Parramatta Eels where Dylan Brown and Mitchell Moses are unbelievable, but when it comes to the big moments, they really mess around and they just kind of go missing or just aren't really seen. I would probably say as a pure halfback, I would probably put him above Jahrome Hughes.
Yep.
I think that would be controversial for most people, but I do think that Mitchell Moses is probably the better pure halfback. Like I know Jahrome Hughes does play for New Zealand, but I feel like if it was between Mitchell Moses and Jahrome Hughes to play for New Zealand, if Moses was eligible, I would probably say that Moses would get selected over Jahrome Hughes personally.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that.
Yeah, so we'll put him at the top end of quality. Eels fans will probably go and try and argue elite, but I don't believe so. I don't believe so just yet. Needs to go up another level this year because he has the potential to be elite. Absolutely. He absolutely has every right to be an elite. I just don't think that he's done it just yet. So we'll put him top end. Next up here, we're going to go to Nathan Cleary, and I'm pretty certain we know where we're putting this guy. Right at the bottom of not that great. Right at the top of elite, man. He's number 1 of the game. He's on the trajectory to potential be the best player. He's on trajectory to be the best player ever. Truly, he has a great trajectory right now. 4 grand finals in a row, 3 of them in a row that he's won. Hasn't necessarily proved it on the Origin level or Origin arena just yet, but international level obviously has. But just that waiting for that Origin moment, maybe this year, you could see him turn it up a notch. But at the end of the day, there is a gap. Like you could honestly put him on his own tier, and then the next quite far below him.
The Cleary tier, and then elite.
Yeah, exactly right.
He's so good. It's
on
ridiculous. He's 25 as well.
Exactly right. Like on the elite category, you just see his legs dangling. That's how high up this guy is, right? So. Go on with what your thoughts are, because 25 years old. That's why I said projection and potential to be the best player of all time.
Yeah, it's like if you put him side by side against like Joey and JT, which most people would say are like first and second at the moment, whatever order you have it, it depends on where you were born, basically. But yeah, Joey, Exhibit A. I think like Nathan Cleary, you stack them next to each other with those guys at 25, and it's daylight. You go, oh, okay. Yeah, right. He's that good, right? So, it's kind of scary what he's going to be able to do.
I will say to people though, like you cannot say he's the best player of all time, or even in the top 10 or top 5 just yet until his career is over. I don't like ranking players until their career is over in regards to comparing them with the past. Once their career is finished, that's when you can kind of say it. But until then, I just want to see how the career pans out, because we've seen how the other careers have panned out. Darren Lockyer, Cameron Smith. Kip Cronk, Billy Slater, like Andrew Johns, even though he's below JT. You know what I'm saying? Like overall, You've seen those players' careers pan out. We can't say that Cleary is the best yet. It's not possible. We need to see him keep going with it. But I do believe he will keep going with it. So, yeah, he's definitely number one. And I don't think that anyone can disagree with that. You're just a hater if you think that he's not number one. You just are. It needs to be said. You just are. But okay, we'll go into Nicho Hynes here for the Sharkies. And to be honest with you, man, I think he's also going to go straight into the elite category. He won a Daly M Halfback of the Year and Daly M for being in the halfback a couple of years ago. Although I do believe his best position is 5'8", that tells you everything you need to know about how good he is as a halfback as well. And I do think that without him, the Sharks team would really lack anything to get the best. Like, they've got a great team around him, but I do think that there needs to be, like I said before, I think Trindall 7, Hynes 6, so that Hynes has a lot more freer opportunities and a lot more enigmatic opportunities, whilst Trindall kind of gets that direction, but Nicho Hynes still is a bit more of a playmaker. I don't know, but I have him as an elite, and I would put him... Actually, no, we'll hear what you have to say first.
So as soon as I saw him, I was like, all right, he's elite. I slotted him straight between DC and Reynolds.
I agree. Yeah. Cool. Simple as that, really.
Yep.
Simple as that, really. But again, do think he probably will play 5'8" this year. But when he's playing halfback, bang, thanks for coming. Put him into elite. But okay, we'll go now into another Sharky who I'm pretty certain, I've heard his name for a little bit, but I'm pretty certain we'll go into Unproven. It's Nivo Peru. Do you know much about him?
No, to be honest, I looked at him and was like, I'm actually not entirely sure who that is. So, yes, I think Unproven.
We love you, Nivi, but we'll put you... I reckon put him above Burton. I reckon put him above Burton, but below Daniel
Just because of the fact he's a halfback, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly right. But okay, we'll go now into another guy who's probably going to go straight to Unproven. For the Newcastle Knights, it is Ryan Rivett, who I have heard recently is getting some raps about Super League, as in going to the Super League from the Knights. Do you know much about Ryan?
A little bit gun from all reports. So it's the kind of thing, it's like, if, from what I've heard, I mean, Cogger's there now, but like if Hastings gets injured, he was going to be the next guy up now that Clune was gone. But then they've brought in Cogger, so it's between them two if there's an injury in the halves. That's the kind of thing. I feel like if he goes, it'll be like a loan, because there's massive raps on him at the Knights. Like, they love him.
So would you put him above Dane Hawkins or below Dane Hawkins?
Still below. I'd probably put him above Daniel Atkinson, I'd say.
I'd put him above Blake Taafe.
Yeah, okay.
I'd put him above Blake Taafe because Taafe's
he's more
7, man. He's a fullback.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. Okay. Now, I have to, before I do get into this, by the way, we're on to the final page, so we're nearly there, son. We are nearly there. But I received a bribe from a Sydney Roosters fan called Norman from Sports Show TV. When I was on the phone to him, he said that Sam Walker must be put into elite, otherwise you could not commentate the Sports Show TV charity match. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put him right at the bottom of Not That Great, because guess what? This comes out after the charity match, Norman. So you won't actually see this, and I'm going to put him right there. But no, Sam Walker here. Fun fact, that story did happen, by the way, guys. But Sam Walker, look, it's an interesting kind of prospect with him. Had huge reps, was meant to be the next Queensland 7. Do feel like people are starting to question that, and I think they've been questioning that for a little bit now. But I do think the back end of the year last year, Sam Walker really did come into his own as the halfback as soon as he got brought back in. So he was dropped. And then the Roosters really were awful, and they wanted him back. Then he injured himself. Yeah. And then once he got back from the injury, they put him back into the 7 for the Roosters. And that's when the Roosters went on their run, I think 7 games in a row or 6 games in a row or something like that. Fun fact, it all started with the Titans. Thank God we played them into form. At least we got a part of their history. But
the Dragons the year before.
Yeah, exactly right. We both know how it feels. But Sam Walker, I think, this is actually a really difficult one because I do see signs of quality, but I haven't seen enough to put him into quality just yet.
I put him straight to the top of do the job. Right. I think the like when Sam Walker first came in, it was like, again, I was like, wow, this guy is ridiculous. The Harbour Bridge passes and stuff. And then teams sort of started to figure him out, as well as I think the Roosters didn't really understand how to play with Sam Walker as their 7. And I think like that's been probably the majority of their issues that they've had. Like, they're starting the season so slow because they're just trying new things that's not working out. And I reckon they might have cracked it this year. They have to have. Their squad's way too good. And I think Sam Walker...
They have such a good team. How could they not? How could Walker not? If Walker doesn't do it this year, then there's got to be major concerns. Because look at the team around. Look at the back line. Look at the forwards. They've got the team around him.
Absolutely. And I do think for him, like, he knows he can do it because he came in and got like ridiculous amount of try assists in like 7 games or something. Like it's there again, like not to the same extent as what I sort of said about Jake Arthur before, but it seems like he can't put on any size, which I feel like, again, like you've got these massive, like Olakawatu, Jam and Sam Walker, like it's going to hurt anyone, but when you weigh like 70 kilos playing NRL, it's going to be like, I reckon it'll affect your confidence going to the line so much more. So I wonder whether that's got something to do with just he has held back a little bit. But yeah, I don't know what it is with Sam Walker, but I do feel like it's all just going to fall into place.
Yeah, I think it has to fall into place this year. It really it has to. And he definitely could go into quality next year. Probably should go into quality next year. And look, it depends on what Cherry Evans does. Could he be the next 7? Could Tom Dearden be the next 7? Could Ezra Mann be the next 7 at Queensland? But then again, Sam Walker is the only halfback there, whilst Tom Dearden and Ezra Mann are both 5'8". Maybe we see Tanner Boyd. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we see Tanner Boyd as the halfback for Queensland. I think that's the only answer at this point. These 3 guys, whatever. We'll get Tanner Boyd in. But yeah, Top do the job. Definitely room for him to go into quality at 2024. Okay, we go now to the Roosters again, and it is Sandon Smith, who is probably the replacement there. We saw enough about him kind of last year. Didn't really light the world on fire, but I still would put him into the do the job category.
Yeah, I agree. I'm leaning towards that lower end. Because when he was in there, they didn't win many games. They weren't fantastic, but he's still like, there's definitely guys that like you're picking him over in that halfback spot.
I would be aiming towards, like, I'm pretty high on Sullivan, to be fair. I would be kind of aiming towards putting him between Sullivan and Sezer.
Yeah, I squeezed him between the 2 Tigers halfbacks. So yeah, happy with that.
There we go. Okay, we go to the Dolphin. It is Sean O'Sullivan here, who was at the Panthers, then went to the Dolphins. I think he was injured for a lot of last year, if I'm not mistaken. Tom Pett, that's the one. Thought he was doing pretty good, actually, until then. Would probably... Geez, I don't know if I could put him above Sam Walker, to be fair. I don't know if I could put him above Sam Walker. I think he's probably going to do the job, but I just probably up end somewhere.
Well, I was interested to see what you said. I put him behind Jamal Fogarty.
I would agree with that one. I think they're kind of similar. I think I'd probably prefer Jamal Fogarty right about now than John O'Sullivan. But then again, I'm not a massive believer as Foz is the leading 7, even though he's probably the closest to a 6 and 7 comparison. I would probably take him right this very second over Keary. I'd probably say below Fogarty. I agree with you.
Cool.
All right, bang. There we go. All right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Welcome, Warriors fans, to the chat. New Zealand Warriors. We've got Shaun Johnson here. I'm going to let Trademark take the brunt of this one. Where are you going to put Shaun Johnson, Trademark?
I'm going to start this off with saying that Shaun Johnson is my favorite player of all time. Okay? So last season, watching him having that year he did was the best thing ever. And I really wish he got the Daly M. But we have to take into account the fact that his soft tissue is just falling off and tearing. So he's very injury prone now in his later age. He's probably not going to do it again.
Wow. Rest in peace, my friend. Rest in peace, Trademark.
And let's be real, if we're doing a draft and you've got Adam Reynolds and Shaun Johnson sitting next to each other as your last picks for halfback, you're probably going to take Adam Reynolds. So I'm putting him in quality. I've got him at the top there, but I feel like he could be moved down.
So what I'm going to say here, Warriors fans, I love you. Okay? I love you. You guys know my concerns about SJ. You know, if you followed this channel, you subscribe to this channel, please keep it that way. Don't unsubscribe from this channel based on what we're about to say. But like Shaun Johnson is definitely, he had an incredible year. He did have one incredible year. In between at the Sharkies wasn't that great at all. Obviously, 10, 13 years ago when he was at the Warriors as well was incredible. I do have my concerns right now about him continuing on with it in 2024. Prove me wrong again. Feel free to prove me wrong again.
I'd love to be proved wrong.
I would love to be proven wrong in regards to SJ and the Warriors go on and kill it and knock the Broncos out. Feel free, right? But I would say that one, I'm definitely I would put him as quality. and Warriors fans will hate that. I would right now. Look, I think that if you're talking about like age factor, yeah, I'm taking Mitchell Moses and I'm taking Jahrome Hughes over him. Um, but if you're talking about the quality that we saw on the immediate last season, I would be putting him above those four guys. It's such a hard one because it's definitely quality, but I'm just trying to figure out, are we just simply basing this on last season? Because if that's the case, then it would be probably second in elite. And arguably, like people hate this, but Cherry Evans also was quite close to how good Shaun Johnson was last year. But the Warriors were just such a loud fan base. Do you put him above Mitchell Moses or do you put him below Mitchell Moses? I think. Oh man, I would probably I'd probably put Mitchell Moses above Shaun Johnson right now going into the year. Oh, they're gonna hate us. They're gonna hate us, man. We're gonna do it. Oh no.
We do also have him above like 30 halfbacks there, but that doesn't matter though.
People forget, man. People forget that we've still got him really high up here. He's still right now the sixth best halfback in the game. But we do have to be realistic. And we have to kind of put in all components going into 2024. We add in last season, but we've also got to say he's getting on now. We might see a little bit of a difference this year, but prove us wrong is what we'll say. Yeah. And now let's move on. I'm Shaun Johnson, and we're going to get to the man. Oh, man, could you imagine if we put Tanner Boyd higher than Shaun Johnson?
I wouldn't let that happen. I wouldn't let that happen.
Hey, listen, you're not the one controlling the team maker. You aren't the one controlling this team maker right now, son. But no, we've got Tanner Boyd here in the Gold Coast Titans. I'll give you a bit of a spiel, and then you can bring me down if you want. I would straight up put him into the do the job category. I'm not talking quality. I'm not talking elite. He has previously on our team makers been in the not that great category at the top end. But I do think that in 2023, he did come on to his own a lot more. Alongside Foran, really did help. It didn't help, obviously, the fact that, we changed coaches halfway in between. Justin Holbrook, though, was a massive believer in Toby Sexton. He was never really kind of fully into what Tanner Boyd could provide. And I do think that Desi is fully bought into what Tanner can produce, right? So I do think that this is going to be a massive year for Tan. If he doesn't work out this year, then it's going to be a real concerning factor with a guy that we'll talk about in a little bit that will probably overtake him. But I do genuinely believe that Tanner Boyd, doesn't miss his kicks. I think he genuinely, like outside of the things I say, I think he's top 2 or top 3 for conversion percentage, if I'm not mistaken, behind Nathan Cleary and something like that. I think he's like 92%. It's really high anyway. And then he also has really learned to kind of game manage a lot more. There is still a lot more we need to see, but I would put Tanner Boyd. Well, I'd definitely put him above Ilias. I'd definitely say Tanner Boyd's above Ilias. I would say I personally put him below Braydon Trindall.
That's exactly where I put him.
Really? Wow, I love it. I love that you were like, bang, got him.
Yeah, my thing, like Tanner Boyd, I'm so glad the experiment with him playing in 9 is over. I think, like, I've always been high on Tanner Boyd. I think there's a really good halfback there. And I think under Desi, he's just going to go to another level. Like having Kieran Foran there, mentoring him there, and then Desi, I'm really excited for what Tanner Boyd can do.
Yeah, 100%, man. And it's really hard to rank your own players. And also Tanner Boyd's obviously, I'm really close with Tanner Boyd as a like off the field. So, I don't want to shit on the guys, but also have to provide a realistic viewpoint. I do think that, look, it's weird that I think, it's weird that obviously Tanner Boyd is below Ken Foran when Foz is the 6 and Tanner's the 7. But with that being said, I think we've got that perfect. And especially considering that you're not the Titans fan, and that's exactly what you put him to, I think we leave it at that. But I'm looking forward to a massive breakout year for Tanner Boyd. I'm looking forward to a massive breakout year for my boy. But all right, we go into the final 5. And don't forget that Tanner Boyd doesn't misses. He never misses. All right, it's not possible. But the final 5, Thomas Duffy for the Cowboys. I think he goes straight into Unproven. Don't know much about him, but I also still believe he'd probably be behind Clifford.
Yeah, so I've got him in the Unproven as well. I put him behind Dean Hawkins just because I think he is more of a chance to play 7 than the guys behind him.
Yeah.
Again, like I've heard his name floated around a lot from like in Cowboy circles and stuff, but I don't know much of him. He played in the trials last season and he was okay. I think the first one against the Dolphins, he had quite a good game, But then other than that, I haven't heard too much about him.
Yeah, 100%. I think we just leave it at that, to be honest with you. Because I'll be completely honest with you guys, until I did that, the breakout players with Bob Sports, I didn't actually know Thomas Duffy was. So and he's a Cowboys fan, right? So he kind of alerted me to him. That wasn't his breakout player, but he just mentioned his name. I was like, okay, there must be a new Cowboy coming up through the ranks. But okay, we get to what used to be the conundrum between the Titans of Tanner Boyd and Toby Sexton. We get to the Toby Sexton here for the Doggies, who is predicted to be their starting halfback this year. It's a kerfuffle, absolute schmozzle of a halfback situation there at the Bulldogs. But Toby is a mate of mine, so I'm not going to shit on him. But Toby hasn't gotten to the level that we all know he can achieve yet. And it's going to be very difficult at the Doggies, just like it was very difficult at the Titans with the situation that he had, and it's very difficult with the situation he has now. But where would you actually put him? Because I think that there is still a lot to be seen from Tobes, but I also don't think he's given the fans a great deal of showing about what he can actually do.
So I think at the moment, I've got him at the top of not that great. Just it hasn't worked out the way he's wanted it to in his NRL career so far. And I think he would admit that as well. I think he would have wanted to do a lot more than he has so far. Didn't work out the Titans, got a new shot at the Doggies, and it didn't click straight away. And look, this is the thing. Like, you come in halfway through the season, and it's pretty tough going, hit the ground running. And like giving him another a full preseason at the Doggies under Serraldo, working with Burton and stuff, it might be a lot better going into like this next season. And like the thing is, like, from all reports, he's still the favorite for that 7 jersey. So he's obviously doing something right, considering they've got 15 halfbacks in their squad. So I think like there is a player in Toby Sexton. He's done some look again, another player who tore up against the Dragons in 2021. He sent Fafita over for like 4 tries. I've
got to actually clarify something with you as well, and really double down on what you just said. The last thing that Toby Sexton ever did for the Gold Coast Titans was score that game-winning try against the Dragons last year.
Thanks. Really need it. But yeah, I think like Toby Sexton, just to completely ignore what's going on right now, I think he is still like there's potential there. And he can definitely be a do-the-job player for this season. But in saying that as well, the Bulldogs have like 1 front rower. Yeah. So it's hard, again.
Mate, that is a situation. There's no
platform being laid for him to do anything. So, yeah.
Yeah, their pack is really small. And their back line is... They've got X factor, but do they have solidity? Is what I would say about their back line. You know, it's going to be super interesting to see if they can defend this year overall, especially with that limiting and small forward pack. But ask Emilio the Savage; he'll tell you they're winning the cup for the next 10 years. But I'm concerned about that. But yeah, Toby Sexton right now, top not that great. It's actually quite funny that Tanner and Toby have switched since they did this with Norman a year or two ago. I think it was 2 years ago, or maybe last year. I can't remember. But anyway, the point matter is top of not that great. But hopefully this is the year, Tobes. Hopefully this is the year. Love you. All right, final three. We've got Tommy Didden here with the Cowboys. There is that opportunity, like the Cody Walker situation we mentioned before with the Rabbitohs. There is that opportunity that Townsend doesn't go this year, doesn't work out this year, and is his last year in his contract as well. And Tom Didden goes from the 6 to the 7. Maybe Billy Slater has been in the year of Toddy Payton saying, hey, listen, we want to tell you, we want Tom Didden to be our guy going into the future for the 7 after Cherry Evans, maybe not Sam Walker, which would push potentially the Jake Clifford or maybe Duffy into the 6. We're not too sure. But the point matter is that maybe we see Didden in that 7. I think that I would still be happy to put him into the quality tier because we have seen him play 7 in Origin. Or did he play? No, he played 6, didn't he?
Played 6. He came from Munster.
Yeah, he did. Ooh. So where would you put him?
I put him sort of at the top of that like 5'8" that can play halfback range there. So I put him
like the
in
Foz
between
kind of
O'Sullivan and Foran, yeah.
Yeah. So are you putting him... I would put him above Foz.
Yeah, that's where I stuck him. Just because like, you think like he's more of a natural halfback compared to those guys.
Yeah, and he's also still super young as well.
Yeah, I think the plan is for the future for him to be their 7 long term.
Yeah. So next year we'll have more of a good read, I would say, on Didden there, or even potentially 2025 will give us a good read for 2026.
Yeah.
because this is Townsend's last year. So maybe they believe in Thomas Duffy more. They put him in the 7. Don't think so. I think Dearden's got more experience. Put him in the 7. And I think that by the end of this year, I do genuinely believe that he'll be in quality for sure. I would nearly guarantee it, to be fair. I would nearly guarantee it. So we'll put Tommy Dearden there above Fozza, below O'Sullivan. All right, final 2 here. We get to my boy, Tommy Weaver. I can give you a spell, but I'd love to see if you know anything about Tommy Weaver.
I'm so high on Tommy Weaver. I think he's got to be the Titans 6 or 7 either for 10 years. Like, as long as everything works out right, he's so good, man.
Yeah,
he's so good.
He's a tough player too. Like, going just quickly, just in that Doggies game, the last game of the season, he broke, I think it was his nose or like his eye socket or something like that. Like it was just massively gone because I think it was Joshua Carr's boot or someone's boot came into his eye and just wrecked his face and still kept playing. He still kept playing. That shows his tenacity, shows his strength, but keep going with what we're saying.
It's that New South Wales ticker he's got. So yeah, I think like Tommy Weaver, you watch him in that like New South Wales under-19s game and stuff, and you watch him like play Queensland Cup. He's just got like such a good head on his shoulders. He plays well above his maturity. I think he's still 19 or 20. And like you watch him, he just doesn't get stressed. He doesn't like mad. Like he'll go to the line, and get pumped. He'll do it again the next time. Like it doesn't phase him. And I think that's like something that I really, really commend of him, because you see a lot of young halves come in, they get belted and go, "Oh, that hurt a lot more than when I played under 20s." And I mean, obviously it would, but yeah, I think I would actually, I think Tommy Weaver will probably play 6, maybe long term, and Tanner Boyd's your 7, but I think either way, Desi's definitely going to get the best out of him.
Yeah, I think that Tommy Weaver still probably goes into the unproven category because the only games he got to play last year was against the Panthers, was against the Storm, at the Bulldogs game as well last game of the season. But it was really tough games at the back end besides the Dogs. And he did hold his own. He did definitely hold his own. Tommy's a good kid. He's really coming through the system well. It just comes down to how Tanner goes this year, I would say. It really does come down to how Tanner goes, because he could potentially take over that 7 role, or you may see Foz go, because I genuinely believe that the thought process, I don't know Desi though. We need to see Desi and what his thoughts are before he can really kind of make a process, because right now, obviously, it's Foz and Tan. So we don't know what he's thinking elsewise. And I haven't been able to have too much of a good chat with him yet, because it is still obviously the preseason. But yeah, Tommy Weaver definitely could be the 6. He could be the 7. You could see a guy like, I don't know. It's a confusing situation, but unproven. I would probably still put him above Dean. I'd put him above Dean Hawkins.
Yeah, that's exactly where I had him, in between Fainu and Hawkins.
Yeah, because Love Fainu has too much of a resounding kind of support right now to put anyone above him. But I do believe Tommy Weaver could be the next big thing. I genuinely believe it. So it'd be interesting to see how the Titans do go this year. But all right, we've gotten to the final
Best
man.
for last, my boy.
I was going to say, this guy, I was doing the commentary stuff for obviously the players today for the Sports Show charity match. And I remember from last year, you said that you went to, was it Gerringong Lions? That is where Tyron Wishart played, and that's where you played.
Yes.
So there we go, Tyron Wishart. You can go and talk about your boy at the Storm.
So obviously Tyron, like he's a bit indifferent like at Storm. He's playing as a utility, mostly as a 9, but like he played halves his whole life until he got to the Dragons Cup system and stuff, and then he went to the Storm and they've turned him into a 9. But we watched him play a couple games towards the end of the season last year as a 7, and he blitzed it. And I remember like sitting there going, "This is what happens when you play a bloke in his position." Obviously stuck behind Jahrome Hughes and Jonah Pezzett for that 7 spot, and he's probably like if he plays 7 this year, it's because both of those guys are injured. I think he's definitely more of that utility mold, but as a 7, he's probably unproven on the NRL stage. But I think that's probably, honestly, I think that's his best position.
So you think unproven?
I think just because he hasn't played enough at 7, but I'm happy for you to put him elsewhere. If like,
I'm just trying to figure out where an unproven. No, I don't know. I've seen him a bit, but I haven't really kind of taken a great deal of notice, to be fair. But he does come off that bench, and you do say he comes into that 9 quite regularly. So I'm happy to listen to kind of what you have to say in that situation. But where would you put him in? Where would you put him? I'd probably say above. I'd probably put him above Duffy.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's pretty fair. Like he hasn't like played a great deal of halfback, like in like the professional systems and stuff, but he's sort of like he's proven that he can sort of impact a game at 7 in the NRL. So I think like for now, definitely he's probably above like Duffy and those other guys that we haven't really seen anything of.
And he's got a pretty good father. His father had a pretty good career, to be
Yeah.
completely honest with you. So you got to back that in. Old Roddy Wishart there. But all right, there we go. Slapped it down. We've just gone through, I think, 47 players there, 46 players or so. What are your thoughts briefly on kind of the overall thought process of how we've gone? But also, who is one player that you think people will think is too high, but who is the one player that you think people will put too low?
I think you're about to get spammed with 150 comments about why Shaun Johnson should be elite above Nathan Cleary as well. Love you, Waz fans, but geez, sometimes yeah.
They'll put him above Cherry Evans, mate. They'll put him above Cherry Evans.
Yeah. Someone that's people are going to think too high, probably Jacko Hastings.
Yeah, maybe.
People will look at that and go, "Oh, really?" But I don't know. I feel like if you understand the way that like he plays for the Knights, you get why he's there. Maybe even like a Tommy Dearden, people might think's too low, but yeah.
But that's because they're thinking of the 5'8", they're not thinking of the halfback.
Yeah.
If they actually look at the title of the video, you will see that we're talking in a halfback, not as a 5'8". But yeah, I agree with you. I think that when it comes to too low, there's no arguing that people will and it will be all Warriors fans, and there'll be other people who say, even me as a Cronulla Sharks fan, I would say Shaun Johnson, or you'll get those kind of comments. But at the end of the day, this is just our opinion, guys. You aren't wrong. If you think that Shaun Johnson is second, if you think Shaun Johnson is first, that's your opinion. You are entitled to that. But our opinion is that Shaun Johnson is where he is. In regards to too low, in regards to too high, I would probably say too high would be, Jackson Hastings is a good shout there. I actually don't know. I think that it's pretty hard to say who is it too high. Maybe Drew Hutchison. Maybe a lot of people don't really rate him outside of the Roosters kind of fan group. I would probably say Drew Hutchison, but outside of that, I think it's pretty fair, but there will be just that flood of Warriors fans who will completely disagree with our opinion on Shaun Johnson. But there we go, man. Obviously, let everyone know that people can find you.
So if you look up Trademark Sports on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, the old Miami Vice colors with Trademark in white writing, that is me. Make sure you go over, check everything out, and just follow and subscribe to all of it because you're a good bloke. Yeah.
And spam him with Gold Coast Titans stuff before round one. That's for sure. Just absolutely spam. Go the Titans, or Tanner Boy is going to absolutely romp that Seabus in the first round. That's what we need to say. So go and spam with that.
You can do what you want. Dragons 13+.
Here we go.
In your own backyard.
At least we can clip that, because the last time we played in our backyard, I think it was a nice little Toby section try. And then Tanner Boyd did not miss, because he does not miss. That's a fact. But there we go, guys. Go and obviously follow Trademark Sports. He's a good bloke. He's doing what he can for the community, but he can't get enough rugby league content. Obviously, here, thumbs up, subscribe, bang, slap it down. Hope you guys are loving this series, because we're just pumping through them all. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Alrighty, guys. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. See you.